Haunted secrets revealed. 7 spine-chilling stories that curse your dreams. Forbidden rain sounds. The storm rolled into Maplewood Valley like a shiver running down a spine. Dark clouds churned overhead, casting eerie shadows against the cozy homes, and Sarah felt an all-consuming dread that swallowed every happy memory she'd had. She lost her job at the hospital, and now the walls of her once-beloved family home felt like they were closing in. At night, thunder rattled the windows, each crack sending her heart racing. And it was strange, alarming, that sounds had become whispers. Was it the wind, or was it something inside the house? Every time the lights flickered, she felt the diary in her attic calling to her, a dark invitation. "Find me," it whispered. "It feels alive." One evening, as lightning split the sky, she surrendered. Heart pounding, she climbed up to the attic, the old wood creaking beneath her. Dust motes danced in the air, sparkling like tiny ghosts. Among the boxes, she uncovered a tattered journal, yellowed with age. It was as if it had been waiting for her, begging to be opened. Each page turned revealed tales steeped in horror stories of violent storms, shadows lurking in the yard, neighbors disappearing without a trace. She gripped the edges, soaking in the spine-chilling accounts just as her children slept fitfully below, their whimpers echoing up the stairs. "Mommy!" Amber's voice broke through the hum of the storm, her tiny body trembling under a blanket. Tyler sat frozen, eyes wide. He'd seen something in the corner of his room. What do you do when your own kids shiver with fear? She dismissed it as nightmares, just imagination. But then she found an entry about Mr. Jennings, the neighbor who helped too much, loitering around like a specter. A chill ran through her. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. As she read deeper, paranoia gnawed at her stomach like a beast. The journal seemed to pulse with life, every word binding her to the horrors nestled within her own community. The gnomes in her garden had shifted positions overnight. She could swear she felt eyes watching from the other side of the window. And then, there was Mr. Jennings, always polite, always eager to help. But when he smiled, it felt like a mask slipping into place, hiding something dark and terrible beneath. The clock struck midnight, and she could no longer ignore the unease growing inside. She reached for her phone, dialing the local police, only to be met with skepticism and indifference. A mother's fears nothing more than a reminder of their busy night. Alone in her home, she felt the weight of their dismissal settle over her like a shroud. Was she imagining it all? The storm howled outside her walls long into the night, pressing her against her memories. The laughter of her children mixed with the desperate scream of the wind. As the pounding rain fell, she braced herself against her fears, and the shadows thickened. Would they be safe here? Did she really want to dig deeper into the curse woven into her home? In that moment, Sarah saw only darkness ahead filled with revelations yet to come, and the storm outside raged on, matching the tempest in her heart. Who would break first? The wind shrieked outside, making the old house tremble like a frightened animal. Sarah clutched the journal tighter, her fingers trembling as she felt the weight of its secrets. The stories inside had taken root in her mind, twisting it with anxiety. Each flicker of light made her jump, every shadow felt like a looming threat. Amber's voice rose again, a thin wail that sliced through the darkness. "Mommy!" The shadows. Her little girl's fear was palpable, hanging heavily in the air. Sarah rushed down the attic stairs, the house groaning beneath her. What was wrong with her children? Were they truly seeing something more than just the terror of a storm? Tyler. Amber. I'm coming. She reached the hallway just as Tyler stumbled out of his room, his eyes wide, filled with unshed tears that reflected the lightning outside. I saw him, Mom. I saw Mr. Jennings in my room. The words hit Sarah like a slap. She had tried to dismiss her growing fears, to protect her children from her own paranoia. But what if there was some truth hidden beneath the layers of her doubt? What if Mr. Jennings, the well-meaning neighbor, really was lurking? "Okay, it's going to be okay," she said, forcing calm into her voice. "Let us check the window together." The three of them gathered near the window, its old frame rattling from the wind's ferocity. Peering out into the chaos, she scanned the yard, her heart drumming in her chest. The trees looked like twisted fingers reaching for the sky, and the garden gnomes stood still, their painted smiles peering back at her in the ghostly illumination. "Nothing else out there," she whispered, mostly to herself. "Just the storm. You see? There's nothing." But then she noticed it. A shadow darting between the rows of bushes. Her breath caught. "Stay here," she uttered, barely above a whisper. She stepped back, her heart racing as she made for the front door without another thought. "Mommy!" Amber's plea echoed, but she couldn't turn back now. The screaming wind swallowed the sound. Sliding the door open, she peered into the torrential rain, feeling the cold drench her instantly. She had to confront her fears. She had to know. "Mr. Jennings!" She shouted into the storm. But the only reply was the laughing wind. Suddenly, a flicker of light caught her eye, a lantern bobbing in the distance, dancing like a firefly in the storm. Was it real? Was it him? She staggered forward instinctively, pulled by an unseen force. As she stepped onto the porch, a loud crash reverberated behind her. The children's screams rang out, frantic and terrified. "Mommy! Help!" She turned abruptly, her heart freezing at the sight. The attic door had swung wide open. "No!" Sarah screamed, torn between her children and the pull of the horrid mystery unfolding. In that moment, shadows advanced toward her from the open attic. They slithered and warped, taking shape a twisted version of her joy, a grotesque echo of her past. Each step they took sent icy tendrils creeping up her spine. "Mommy, please!" Amber's voice. But Sarah felt paralyzed, caught between terror and motherly instinct. What awaited her inside that attic? What waitings lurked within those cursed pages? With her children crying behind her and shadows creeping closer, Sarah could only scream, "Run!" But did they know where to go? As the storm raged, the truth began to unravel in waves, secrets broiling with rage and sorrow. When would the shadows finally swallow her whole? A sly thought crept in: what if it was already too late? The moment Sarah turned, panic surged through her. The shadows from the attic curled and twisted toward her, moving with an ominous purpose. She felt the weight of their darkness pressing at her back, urging her to stay. "Mommy!" Tyler's voice echoed like a desperate chant, weaving through the storm's roar. The children huddled together, wide-eyed and lost. "Stay close!" Sarah shouted, her instincts igniting. The attic door opened wider as if an unseen force beckoned her inside. No. She refused to step back into that darkness. Not now. Not ever. The wind whipped through the threshold, swirling around her in chaotic bursts. Desperation clenched her heart. "Let us go. We need to get upstairs and lock the door." She hurried them toward the zigzagging staircase, gripping Tyler's hand and pulling Amber close. Every step felt heavier, the atmosphere thickening as they ascended. The ominous whispers echoed against the walls, a chilling harmony that promised terror. As they reached the hallway, another crash resounded from the attic, shattering the frail calm they clung to. Sarah froze, her breath caught in her throat. "Mommy, what if Mr. Jennings is in the house?" Amber whispered, her small frame trembling. "He can't be. We'll make sure of it." Sarah lied, trying to mask her own fear. She knew that it wasn't only Mr. Jennings they had to dread, it was the house itself, twisted with memories and shadows that hungered for despair. With one last burst of resolve, she shoved the door to their bedroom open. Inside, the room was drenched in darkness, remnants of a once joyful space now choked by dread. "Quick! Get in!" Tyler and Amber scampered inside while Sarah glanced back at the attic door, now ominously ajar. Something didn't belong there, a presence, perhaps, something that stayed behind when she wasn't looking. The shadows danced at the corners of her vision, flickering in the dim light. In the instant it took to slam the bedroom door shut, the whispers transformed, evolving into a cruel laughter that seeped through the walls. Sarah pressed her back against the door as her heart quickened, the sounds wrapping around her like a rope, squeezing tighter. "Mommy, what was that?" Tyler's voice trembled, piercing her thoughts. She could see him pale, the color draining from his face. "It's just the storm, honey," she soothed, though her voice wavered. But even as she spoke, dread crept back into her mind. She had read enough of those journal entries, she knew. They were not alone. Another crash echoed from the attic, followed by a series of soft thuds, pacing in a staccato rhythm that made her skin crawl. Sarah squeezed her eyes shut, desperately wishing it all away. She had to hold things together. "We can't be afraid, kids. We need to stay strong. Maybe we should call Dad," Tyler suggested, but they all knew he was miles away. "Don't think about that now. We'll figure it out," she insisted. Yet with every echoed laugh and whisper that followed, her resolve steadily chipped away. The dark could feel their terror, feeding on it like a monster reviving itself with their fear. The wind howled outside, the attic creaking as if something ponderous shifted within. Each sound fused into an orchestra of terror. Sarah inhaled sharply, urging herself to think. "We have to distract it," she murmured, glancing at the window. "If we can draw it away." "Draw what away?" Amber asked with wide, questioning eyes, the innocence in her voice breaking Sarah's heart all over again, but before she could answer, the attic door slammed shut with a deafening thud, echoing against the walls, leaving them wrapped in silence. A taste of dread coated her tongue, the kind that heralds a future worse than what is now. Was it truly too late to turn back? "Mommy! Please, don't let it come in," Tyler whimpered, cloaked in fear. And from outside, a voice emerged from the storm. Low and sinister, barely a whisper but full of malice, it called, "Sarah, I know you're here." Her thoughts collided, freezing her in place. Who was calling her name? What awaited them at the end of this dark path? The oppressive silence in the room hung like a thick fog, suffocating. Sarah breathed in sharply, clutching the door handle as if it were her only anchor. The sinister whisper wafted through the crack beneath the door, coiling into the room like a serpent. "Mommy!" Amber squeaked, her hands trembling at her sides, her eyes wide and glistening. "Shoo, listen!" Sarah hissed, urgency punctuating her words as she strained to hear. The murmur from outside, that dark, haunting familiarity, darted through her mind. It had to be a trick. It had to be, but deep down, she felt a sickening pull, a connection. "Mommy! I want to go home." Tyler whimpered, his fragile frame buckling against the bedpost. "We are home," she snapped, her voice cracking. "Stay with me, please." Yet even as she spoke, the facade of safety crumbled away. A low rumble grumbled from the attic as if something deep within the house responded to her fear. The sound reverberated through her bones, quickening her pulse. The children pressed against her, warmth of fleeting comfort against the encroaching darkness. Sarah stole a glance out the window. The storm raged on. Lightning lit up the sky in jagged strokes, casting eerie shadows across the room. She felt the darkness clawing at the edges of her sanity, whispering secrets steeped in despair. Suddenly, the sounds shifted. The laughter poured back in, like 1,000 cackling phantoms drumming their fingers against the walls. It echoed and reverberated, trapping them within this terrible resonance. One laugh rang out more clearly than the others, a voice intertwined with memories she fought so hard to bury. "Sarah, remember me?" Her heart raced as she buried her face in her hands, squeezing her eyes tight. The specter of her past clawed at the surface, each memory sharper than the last. The sweet face of her sister, lost in a haze of darkness. "No, not now," she wailed, desperation bleeding into her voice. "Mommy, what is happening?" Amber cried, tightening her grip. "It's fine. I just need to think." But the frantic, chaotic whispers seeped into her mind, igniting her fear. How could she protect her children when the darkest parts of her own past threatened to consume them? Another deafening crash echoed from the attic, as if confirming the entity's approach. An icy draft slipped through the cracks, chilling Sarah to her core. "We need to find a way out," she whispered, her voice low and edged with horror. They could hear it now, a slow, deliberate scraping from the attic, something dragging toward the door. Panic surged through her. "We have to check it. We can't stay trapped like this." But as she turned toward the door, Amber clutched her leg, her tiny voice barely audible. "Mommy, please, it wants you." Sarah's heart dropped. The truth was undeniable. Whatever awaited them was a remnant of her past, waiting to drag her back. Yet, her children couldn't remain alone in the darkness, nor could they let the house overtake them. Their survival depended on what she chose next. "Okay, listen. We're going to make a noise, loud enough to draw it away from the door. We need to give ourselves a chance." "Where will we go?" Tyler asked, his voice barely a whisper, fear glistening in his eyes. "Anywhere but here," she muttered, eyes wide with uncertainty. As the scraping grew louder, the whispers turned into an uproar, crescendoing with urgency. Sarah felt the shadows swirl around her. On three then, just as she prepared to release the door handle, a voice pierced the din, reverberating in her chest like a chilling message. "You can't escape me, Sarah. Go!" she shouted, heart racing as the children screamed, echoing her dread. And in that frantic moment, she opened the door wider, plunging them into the corridor, as a figure loomed large in the darkness ahead. What awaited them in the flickering shadows? What awaited her in the depths of the attic? The corridor stretched into a dimly lit void, shadows pooling in every corner like hungry wolves. Sarah shoved the door wide open, the aged wood creaking under the strain. The noise drew the figure closer, its presence palpable, filling the air with an icy dread that grasped at her heart. "Stay close," she commanded, her voice trembling yet fierce. Amber and Tyler clutched onto her, their bodies pressed tightly against her as if her skin could shield them from whatever lay ahead. Light flickered erratically from distant bulbs, throwing menacing shapes across the walls, making her feel like prey in a predator's den. Each step forward felt like moving through molasses, time stretching painfully. The scraping sounded again, a grating, slow motion, as though something was dragging itself closer, savoring every moment of their fear. "Mommy!" Amber whimpered again, practically glued to her side, eyes glimmering with unshed tears. "Just hold on," Sarah replied, her throat dry. Panic clawed at her, an animalistic instinct shrieking for escape. She had to keep her children safe, no matter what, but the darkness was relentless. A sudden crash resonated from above, sending tremors through the floor. She glanced up towards the attic, a place she had always avoided. That certainty of dread tightened her stomach. It wasn't just a house. It breathed in anger, and it was breathing them in as well. "Where do we go now?" Tyler's sharp intake of breath shaky, filled with the vulnerability of a child. Up, she forced the word out against the lump in her throat, a decision etched in desperation. "We have to go up. It has to be safer." With every instinct screaming against it, Sarah turned, leading the way toward the ivy-clad stairs spiraling into darkness. More laughter echoed, this time closer and sharper, mocking her attempts to shield her children. "Sarah, I've missed you," the taunting whisper curled around her, chilling her to the bone. It was a voice she couldn't forget. She trotted up each uneven step, her heartbeat matching the pounding of the storm outside. At the landing, she hesitated, hand gripping the railing punctuated with splinters. Then, as she peered into the attic door, a rickety entrance bathed in shadows, the whispers erupted into a hideous roar, ripping through the air. "Don't leave me." Tyler's plea shattered her focus. She turned to Morgan, the eldest's eyes, wide and desperate. Fighting against the layers of dread, Sarah stepped forward, driven by the primal urge to protect. "We're going in." She pushed through the door, the wood protesting, and instantly the air thickened. It was stifling, filled with a musty scent that reeked of decay and old secrets. Inside, the attic was an unsettling collage of forgotten toys, sheets marked with dust and time, and bizarre objects that seemed to pulse in the darkness. Some cast down shadows that danced like lost souls. The storm's roar was obfuscated, as if the house was swallowing the chaos outside. "It's just old stuff," she said, forcing a false bravado to reassure her children, swallowing back the bile that threatened to rise. But deep down, she could feel that something was wrong. The attic felt too alive, as though it was a graveyard brimming with memories she had tried desperately to forget, and then, she spotted it, a figure in the corner, hunched over, swathed in shadows. The piercing eyes shot toward her, glowing with an unholy luminescence. "Welcome home, Sarah." In that moment, terror raced through her veins, sending her instincts into overdrive. "Run!" she shouted, her heart clanging like an alarm. But as she turned to flee, something ice-cold gripped her ankle, yanking her back. Would she save her children from the clutches of their ancestral curse, or would the secrets buried in this room claim them all? What awaited them in the heart of darkness? The answer lingered just out of reach, a terrifying promise of the past ready to unleash its horror once more. The grip around her ankle tightened, an icy tar that squeezed, coiling tighter than fear itself. Sarah yanked her foot, but the force was unyielding, like a chain anchoring her to a ravenous abyss. "Mommy!" Amber screamed, her voice piercing through the anguish of Sarah's heart. "Just run!" Sarah howled, looking back, desperation etched across her face. Tyler was still standing there, wide-eyed, his shadow merging with the looming darkness. A terrified Root held him fast. "Tyler, please!" Sarah begged, her voice breaking. Horror coursed through her blood as she got a glimpse of the figure. It stood taller than before, each movement deliberate and menacing, feeding off their terror. The eyes glowed brighter, dissecting the darkness until it felt as if they were a spotlight to her deepest fears. "Come to me." The voice, seductive and sinister, coiled around Sarah's mind. A siren song pulling at her sanity. With a swift motion, she lunged forward, propelled by a mother's instinct. Bare hands gripped the splintering floor, dragging her seeds of panic towards her son. "Tyler! Come!" But then Amber tugged on her sleeve, her tiny face twisted in fear. "Mommy, don't leave me. Don't you dare let go of me!" She shouted back, panic weaving like nettles in her stomach. Where was she supposed to go? "Help me!" Tyler finally shouted, breaking from his stupor. She saw him tugging against the cold hand of the figure, struggling against a power that felt otherworldly. That moment of hesitation cost precious milliseconds. Shadows surged, writhing and fluctuating, and the figure melded deeper into darkness, cloaked in malevolence. "Grab my hand!" Sarah screamed, clawing her way towards Tyler. He reached out, stretching fingers trembling with fear, and grasped hers just as the dark force around them surged forward. The moment their skin connected, a thunderous roar erupted, vibrating through the walls, shaking the relics of the past. "Let go! I'll save you!" Tyler shouted, terror painting his expression. "No! We stay together!" Sarah shouted, pulling him close. The phantom darkness recoiled then flared, as if enraged by their unity. The lids of the forgotten toys fluttered, and the air thickened, pulsating with the memories of souls trying to escape, but Sarah wasn't the only one who had changed. Deep within the recesses of the attic, another voice awakened, a darker echo that surged with the storm outside. "You can't escape your blood, Sarah. It's over." With renewed determination, Sarah found her feet. "Push forward. she bellowed. The shadows writhed, snapping and lunging toward them, desperate to reclaim their prize. Tyler's eyes met Amber's, and in that instant, they became a unit. The house trembled with anguish, but they surged forward together, the bond of family fortifying their resolve. Clenching her children's hands tight, Sarah barreled toward the attic door, a potential way out surging brightly in her heart like a flame fighting against the darkness. As she reached the threshold, the taunting laughter intensified, a dissonance swirling like a hurricane. "You can't take them from me!" it shrieked, vibrating through the rafters and slamming a heavy object nearby. An ancient porcelain doll toppled over, shattering into pieces that echoed in her mind. "Now!" Sarah cried, and they launched themselves through the door, landing in the corridor filled with flickering light, but relief was fleeting. As they stumbled forward, Sarah felt the ominous weight of the house shifting. Shadows crept up behind them, ghastly hands reaching, hungry and eager to reclaim their lost treasures. "Mom, what if it follows us?" Tyler whispered, breathless, glancing back at the teetering threshold. The darkness seemed alive, vibrating with a life of its own. Sarah froze, her heart hammering in fear. She glanced back just in time to see the glowing eyes flicker, then vanish into the dark. But that wouldn't be the end, would it? They had escaped the attic, but could they truly leave the past behind? Would the horrors of that cursed lineage remain anchored within the walls, lurking just beneath the surface, waiting to strike again? The air turned stale, and a whisper drifted through the corridor: the true game had just begun. Each corner of the old house held memories and secrets, just waiting for them to return. What would they unearth next? Sarah propelled forward, her breath hitching in her throat, dragging Amber and Tyler with her as they dashed through the dimly lit corridor. The flickering lights cast demon-like shadows on the walls, swinging wildly with every pulse of light, as if the house itself protested their escape. "Mom! I don't want to go back." Amber's voice was thin, a mere tremor of despair, a jolt to Sarah's heart. "Listen to me, look at me." Sarah panted, kneeling to meet Amber's terrified gaze. "We'll get out of here. I promise." But could she keep that promise? The echo of that sinister laughter taunted her ears, a reminder that they weren't safe yet. She pulled Amber close and felt Tyler's grip tighten on her other hand. Their unity was a fragile shield against the lurking evil that awaited, just behind them. Suddenly, a shadow darted past her peripheral vision, making her stomach drop. What was that? She breathed, paranoia rising like bile in her throat. "Mom!" Tyler urged, panic melding with courage in his voice. "Keep moving." They burst into the main stairwell, cluttered with discarded furniture and dust-covered memories that made the air thick and stifling. Sarah glanced over her shoulder, instinct screaming at her to run faster. Each creak of the old wood underfoot felt like a warning, heavy with the weight of what lay hidden within. "Where do we go?" Tyler asked, his youthful bravado cracking in desperation. "Just keep going. We'll find a way out," Sarah urged, her mind racing. A cacophony of terrifying thoughts clawed at her sanity. What if they found a way to block their escape? What if the figure was waiting just around the next corner? The hallway twisted and turned, a maze that seemed to grow darker by the second. The whispers returned, murmurs like an insistent tide crashing against a crumbling shore, each word pregnant with secrets. "Come back, it's not over, you're part of us, mommy, it's scared of the light." Amber cried suddenly, pointing toward the flickering bulbs that gave their only illumination. "Then we use it," Sarah replied, her mind whirling with an idea as they spotted a window at the far end, a sliver of daylight cutting through the ever-thickening darkness. They sprinted for it, the light pulling them closer, igniting hope even when shadows closed in, hungry to snuff it out. Just as they reached the window, the ground shook beneath them, complicating the air with the sound of shattering glass. A shadow surged, combining into one massive form that loomed toward them, its eyes blazing with unholy hunger. "You think you can escape? You're mine." In that instant, the floor beneath them splintered, collapsing with a groan toward the basement below. Sarah's heart raced as she yanked her children back, just as the black void opened wide beneath them, hungry. "Mom, please." Amber's grip tightened, panic wrapping around them like chains, binding them to that wicked past. But then, like a crack of thunder in a silent storm, Tyler shouted, "The light. It hates the light." He pushed Amber toward the window. In an impulsive moment, Sarah seized an old table leg laying nearby, gripping it like a weapon. "Get to the window. Now." With one mighty swing, she smashed the window frame, sending splinters and fragments flying. The entity screeched, a sound that shattered eardrums and sent chills down Sarah's spine. "No. You will never leave. Go." Sarah urged, her voice lost in the raw fury of that haunting scream. Amber scrambled through the jagged opening, Tyler was next, and Sarah felt a fiery determination swell within. Just as she prepared to leap, the figure lunged forward, icy fingers grazing her arm, pulling her closer. "Mom, don't leave. Please." Tyler pleaded, eyes wide, trembling in horror. In that heartbeat, Sarah felt the depth of terror hit her. Would she abandon her children? The connection between them pulsated defiantly against the suffocating grip. She fought with everything inside her, heart pounding as she twisted free. "Climb through!" she screamed, shoving Tyler through to safety before glancing back at the voracious shadow. It raged, restless and furious. But what would they find outside? Suddenly, the atmosphere shimmered ominously, and she felt another presence ripple through the air, a promise that the horrors had just begun, lurking right beneath their feet, clawing to break free. As Sarah launched herself through the window, she landed in a world that felt just as dangerous as the one they left behind. And then, a laugh echoed from inside, a sinister sound fading into the distance, echoing the chilling words, "You can't escape what lay ahead in this strange twilight." Would there be safety in the light, or was it merely another trap? The air outside felt alien, chillier than before as Sarah hit the ground, scrambling to her feet. She spun around, guiding Amber and Tyler to duck low behind a giant, gnarled tree. The house trembled behind them, shadows swirling in windows that seemed to pulsate with rage. "Stay close," Sarah gasped, her heart pounding like a battle drum. They crouched together, three small bodies concealed by a massive trunk, breathing in the damp earthiness of the night. Shadows flittered around them, the wind howled, an anguished scream chasing them even outside. "What is happening?" Tyler whispered, hands shaking. "I don't know," Sarah responded, forcing her mind to frame an answer, but her thoughts were muddled, marred by dread and confusion. "But we have to keep moving. We can't stop here." Suddenly, the laughter erupted again, a haunting echo that bled into the night, playing tricks on their minds. Each note twisted her stomach, dragging her down into an abyss. "What if it follows us?" Amber whimpered, her voice barely breaking the stillness. "It can't, right? We're outside." Tyler replied, his bravado evaporating like mist under scorching sun. "Just breathe," Sarah coached, cradling Amber's face in her hands, searching those wide eyes for some spark of hope. "We're free now, we have to be." But doubt clawed at her. Had they truly escaped? The laughter grew louder, vibrating the ground beneath their feet, and she felt a deep tremor rip through her bones. The shadows shifted, never far, not losing interest. "Let us move," Sarah urged, eyes scanning their surroundings for an escape route. The trees loomed, their branches like skeletal fingers reaching out, conspiring with the dark to swallow them whole. They slipped through the underbrush, feet muffled in the leaf litter. Every crackling twig beneath them was a warning shot, an alert to unseen dangers. With each step, Sarah's resolve waned as the distant laughter morphed into a song of despair, a promise that something wicked awaited. "What if we go to the neighbor's house?" Tyler suggested, voice trembling yet tinged with hope. "They'll help us." Sarah hesitated. A glance back at the looming structure, its windows were now dark, but she felt the weight of the presence gazing behind them. "Okay, good idea. Let us get there." They took off, running away from the haunting melody. The trees began to thin, and just beyond the edge of a clearing, lights flickered like stars that pierced the veil of night. Almost there, she shouted, but just then, a heavy thud shook the ground nearby, making them stumble. Sarah spun around, heart racing. Darkness unraveled behind them, a mass of shadows surged, pooling together, forming into the indistinguishable dread. "Run!" she screamed, pushing Amber and Tyler ahead of her, her own instincts screaming to propel forward. With every leap, they felt the entity gaining on them, cold air swirling like ghosts around their ankles. Trees, once protective, now seemed to close in, the route to salvation twisting treacherously. Dare she look back? A quick glimpse confirmed her fears, the figure was gaining, eyes glimmering with malevolence. "Mom! It's right behind us!" Amber cried, panic twisting her small voice into jagged edges. "Don't stop. Keep moving!" Sarah shouted, lungs burning as they sprinted. But as they reached the clearing, a wall of fog descended, thick and blinding, blocking the neighbor's house from view. The oppressive blanket enfolded them, muffling sounds, and chilling their skin. She felt dread unraveling her sanity, panic gnashing at her heart. "Where do we go? We can't see!" Tyler exclaimed. "Follow my voice, just please, stay with me," she urged, panic rising with each step. And then, just as dread crested their desperation, the fog parted, revealing stone steps leading up to an ancient door covered in gnarled vines. "Mom, what do we do?" Amber looked up, eyes glimmering like twin lanterns of fear. "Maybe it's safe." Sarah spoke, the words feeling hollow. With a final glance back, shadows erupted, coiling like vipers, sinister and swift. Without a plan, she reached for the door. But hesitation gripped her. What if this was another trap? As her hand rested on the cold brass handle, she turned back to her children. "Are you ready?" she breathed, acutely aware of how close their grasp of safety was, how easily it could slip away. That heartbeat of choice, the fog roared back, swirling menacingly, inching them toward the shadows. "Open it!" Tyler yelled, urgency spilling from every word. Sarah twisted the knob, heart in her throat, every nerve raw with fear. As she pushed the door wide, a blinding light spilled out, casting away the darkness, but with it came something else, something worse, a whisper that sent chills down her spine. You shouldn't have come here. What awaited beyond that door, and would they ever truly escape the darkness? The door creaked as it swung open, revealing a vast, warm glow that felt almost inviting. But then the whisper echoed again, twisting like a serpent around Sarah's heart. You shouldn't have come here. The brilliance washed over them, illuminating the entryway adorned with strange symbols and swirling designs. The air was thick with incense like a forgotten memory, bringing a taste of sweetness mixed with the rot of something forbidden. "Mom, please. It's scared," Amber cried, clinging to Sarah's waist. It's okay," she stammered, though her instincts screamed otherwise. They had to make a choice: face the shadows closing in behind them or step into the light filled with an unsettling warmth. "Let us just go in," Tyler urged, but his eyes darted back toward the darkness, still hunting them, still clawing for their essence. The laughter reverberated through the air, now more distant, but still relentless. With a final breath of resolve, Sarah stepped inside, pulling her children behind her. The door slammed shut, echoing like a gunshot in the confined space. Panic surged again as they turned to face the interior, heartbeats thundering in their chests. "Hello." A voice called, soft yet laced with authority. A figure emerged from the soft glow, a woman with silver hair and a face that seemed carved from ancient stone, draped in gauzy fabric that fluttered as if caught in an unseen breeze. "You should not be here," she said, eyes narrowing. "Not now, not ever." "The dark at 1T. Leave us alone," Sarah said, desperation gnawing at her. "Your presence has stirred something that should remain asleep," the woman replied. "You need to leave quickly." "Leave? But we can't go back out there." It's hunting us. Tyler's voice rang with fear, and it reverberated through the air, drawing the attention of something lurking in the light. Silence. The woman commanded, and they fell quiet, hearts hammering in the stillness. You must listen. There is a way, one path to safety, but it requires great sacrifice. Sarah's breath hitched. What kind of sacrifice? The woman's gaze bore into her, revealing nothing but ancient wisdom and a haunting sorrow. To protect your children, you must relinquish your connection to this world. You will not be able to return. What? Amber's voice broke, eyes wide with fear. No. Mom, please. Mom, don't. Tyler pleaded, tears streaming down his cheeks, but the shadows began to claw at the edges of the light. They could hear them whispering now, taunting, demanding with icy breath, hungry for fear. The woman's hand shot forward, pointing to a doorway at the far end of the room. You must make your choice now. The crush of shadows grows closer. Only one may escape. Why can't we all leave? Sarah's voice trembled. Why can't we save each other? There are always costs, the woman replied, the shadows now swirling ominously around their feet, seeping through the walls like ink spreading across a page. Choose, but be warned, not all sacrifices are unselfish. Time stopped, seconds stretched into an eternity. The dark laughter crescendoed, a hellish symphony that clawed at the edges of their sanity. Mom! Tyler shouted, please, we can think of something else. The woman shifted, shadows coiling around her, a dark veil cloaked her intent. You must choose now. Save your children or perish with them in this forsaken realm. Terrors mixed, each heartbeat resonated like a countdown, an unfinished symphony of dread. Sarah's heart raced, wrestling against the desperation of the choice before her, as shadows surged forward, desperate to snatch them back. And as she steeled herself for a decision, a flicker of brightness loosened in the shadows, whispering promises of power and safety. Could she live with the weight of her decision when the darkness would seep into her very bones? Time is fleeting, the woman warned, and the shadows writhed impatiently. Would Sarah save her children with a price too steep, or risk everything in the hope of escape? The walls trembled with the heft of choice, and just as the darkness reached for their souls, Sarah took a deep breath. But what did she choose? Was there a way to escape the curse without losing herself? The shadows danced, eager to consume. As the darkness thickened, Sarah could feel her heart thumping heavily in her chest, a harsh symphony of fear and determination. The woman's piercing gaze pressed down on her, a weight that matched the encroaching shadows swirling hungrily at their feet. Inside her mind, fragments of memories flashed by, laughter shared around dinner, quiet moments watching her children sleep, and the unyielding bond that tied them together. Mom, please, Tyler whimpered, his small voice trembling with an urgency that pulled at her heartstrings. Amber clutched onto Sarah's arm, gaze frantic, eyes wide and shining like saucers. The realization of their perilous situation pressed against her like 1,000 boulders. She couldn't lose them. Not like this. No. She shouted, a fierce resolve rising within her as she stepped forward, the shadows swirling closer. I won't choose between us. I can't. The woman's expression didn't waver. Your power lies in the choice you make. For the safety of your children, a bond must be severed. But remember, sacrifice means leaving behind what you love most. Thunder rumbled outside, deep and resonant like a beast awakening from its slumber. The shadows rushed in, taunting, eager, and Sarah felt them tugging at the corners of her consciousness, urging her to give in to despair. But amidst the chaos, a flicker of hope ignited. There had to be a way to reclaim their safety without abandoning everything. No, she breathed, grabbing both of her children's shoulders. I choose us. And with that declaration, Sarah stood tall, channeling every ounce of power that surged through her as a mother. She envisioned the love wrapping around her children like a protective shield, a force strong enough to push back the darkness. Stay together. She urged, her heart pounding like war drums as shadows slithered closer. As if responding to her wish, a warm light flickered in their midst, blinding and radiant, cracking the oppressive gloom. It pulsed, spreading like ripples on water, engulfing them and pushing back the shadows. The whispers fell silent, or replaced by a seething anger that rushed against the walls, clawing to reach the source of this defiance. The woman's eyes widened, a mixture of surprise and concern. "This is not how it is supposed to be." "You cannot, I can," Sarah shouted back, slicing through the rising trepidation. "I can protect my children. We are stronger than you think." The space around them vibrated, and the shadows shrieked in fury, swirling, clashing against the dawning light now igniting their surroundings. The ancient symbols etched in the walls began to glow, vibrant and alive, resonating with the truth Sarah carried in her heart. "You want to take us." At that moment, the fabric of the house began to tremble, the air thickening with the uneasy confrontation of light and dark. The ominous figure hanging in the corner recoiled, almost as if physically repelled by the love radiating from Sarah. The shadows writhed, anger spilling like a tempest about to erupt. "Your love has weakened me," the voice of the dark entity growled, trembling with a rage that felt primal. "Your reign ends here." Sarah shot back, clenching her eyes shut as she conjured the power that had always existed within her, fueled by her undying love for her children. With one final surge, she pushed forward, embracing the warmth cascading around them like waves crashing against rocks. The shadows screamed, fading back into the dark corners they had once ruled, urgency consuming them as if their very essence was being threatened. When Sarah opened her eyes, the woman stood still, her presence less authoritative, the light soaring in strength around Sarah and her children. "You've done the impossible," she spoke, almost in awe, her voice scarcely a whisper. In that instant, the shadows melted away, leaving behind an eerie calm. All at once, the tangible dread slipped from the air, and sunlight flooded the space, illuminating the heavy, oppressive atmosphere that had once swallowed them whole. Gasping, Sarah fell to her knees, enveloped by the warmth seeping in and filling the air. The weight that had burdened her heart lifted, her children, her beautiful children, were safe. She wrapped her arms around them, breathing in the small but powerful love they shared. "I love you both," she said, heart filled with relief and joy. "We knew you would save us, Mommy," Tyler murmured, relief washing over him. Amber leaned in closer, her small frame resting firmly against her mother. "Can we go home now?" At that request, Sarah nodded slowly, looking around at the remnants of the shadows, no longer threatening but simply whispers of what had been. "Yes. We can go home." As they turned back toward the door, Sarah felt the weight of the past finally unraveling, complete freedom breaking the ties that had haunted them for so long. Together, they stepped into the light, hand in hand, hearts united, knowing that the darkness could no longer keep them enslaved. Outside, the storm seemed to relent, quieting, leaving behind a calm, clear sky brightened by the light of a new day, their path set before them. "Let us go," Sarah whispered, as the wind carried away remnants of the storm, promising hope for the future. Their laughter echoed in the air, a joyous melody paving their way home, free from the whispers of their past. Now, remember. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans know how important it is to show their support through these actions.